Welcome to The Girl Herd,
where we talk Texas football.
and a bunch of takes you probably already heard.
But not from us.
Back to the Final Four. They don't say Final Four in football, but we'll say
No.
Final Four. Back to the college football playoffs.
Playoff. Off to the Cotton Bowl we go. Well, hopefully.
The
Wow.
only program to go back to back. I feel like that's like not being thrown out there as much as it should be.
Well, because the hate's going to be thrown out there more. No one wants to talk about how Texas is the only team in the last remaining or semifinals. Let's say that, since not everyone says Final Four. But actually, someone was like, not only are we the only team in this four set, like the people that were with us last year didn't even make the top 12 team playoffs.
And last SEC team.
Yeah.
Who would have thunk? Not all these little SEC haters.
Which is why no one's talking about it. Can't possibly. Everyone's like, as much as it pains me, I'm rooting for you guys since you're the last SEC team. Like, why does it have to pain you?
I feel like I keep even hearing the opposite. Like, we're still not gonna root for y'all.
Oh yeah, both.
Or like, I can't wait to see y'all lose, like to Ohio State. I'm like, Jesus. Can we get a little love? Like, where's the love, people?
I think the narrative cracks me up though, because it's like, oh, now the SEC is like not the strong conference anymore because we are the team that like is the only remaining one. So it's how, oh, our conference isn't dominant. I mean, truly the weight that we hold. It's crazy.
It really is. Let's think, right? Like, oh, we have this much influence over a whole conference. Come on. And just things happen, right? Things freaking happen. And like we said from the beginning, if it was going to be a year, this was going to be the year.
We always say like the internet is undefeated and like reading all the comments. And so there was one post, and of course people were going all back and forth, but one of my favorite comments was just like, this is how you know Texas is back, because everyone is on here just saying all of the crap. And of course it was like a, sarcastic joke, but it was just like, come on, man. Like,
I said that. I said that to many people. I think even you all on text. Like Arizona State fan base, they lost their minds over that game. And look, in their defense, I also texted our groups this too. A small 0.00001 piece of my body did feel for them when the game was about to be decided off a last second field goal kick based off of their valiant effort in the second half and how they came back. I was like, gosh, like I just knew that we were about to win it. Hopefully Bert has his stuff together and next time we do just win it off the kick, but I kind of like that we were able to prove ourselves in overtime because I didn't like the way we showed up in the second half. So to me, like all of the conversations around Quinn, he did that in overtime and nobody can say anything. Like handled his business. The second touchdown was so fast that I missed it. I looked up and I was like, wait a second, what happened? But I say all of this to say Arizona State fans were on Twitter continuously talking about why a field goal didn't count that hit the ground before it went through the uprights. Like that's how crazy the conversation went. But I just think it's hilarious because all of the referee talk and you guys, when was the last time Texas got calls? And again, that's how you know we're back. And so like it really makes me think of Regina George and the meme. It's like, oh, so you agree that Texas is back? Because we have to be if that's what you all are saying. So it's all very funny.
I agree. I mean, we have to talk about this team. Like the second half, what is happening in the second half? I truly don't get it. And why can our offense not play an entire game like they played in OT? Like the performance they had, I'm like, this is what we've been saying we know you guys can do over and over and over again. Like what is happening? I don't get it. I don't get it. Because when the push comes to shove, look how they perform. I'm like, can you not give me heart palpitations for a whole game and just play like this? I would love it. Would love it.
That fourth quarter, man. I have so much to say. I could say so, like all of us were just like the number of times I walked away and I was like, I don't know if I can keep watching this. I don't know if I can keep watching this. Like what is happening right now? Like how did we get here? They were at a 16-point deficit and now we have a game and this is going to be decided in overtime or by a field goal that we don't want to talk about. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what it is. We always used to say that we love to like play to our opponents. And this year I really didn't feel that way. Like we actually came out and even this game we came out and I was like, all right, here we go. Like 'cause everyone was like, y'all should blow them out of the water. And I was like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not speaking to anything. Let's see how it goes. And then we had those first a few plays and I was like, okay, all right, let's do this. And then the second half. And now I feel we're the team that loves to blow a lead.
I think that one of the bigger things, and I hope that Sark evaluates himself, I know that he will after the season's over, but it reminds me so much of working like in the industry that I work in, because what I think the difference maker is that Sark is being the play caller right now. And when you're trying to win national championships and things are so competitive, I think what happens is like the game catches up to him and he can't stay ahead anymore because he's managing too much. And it reminds me of like my own role at my job because I came from the sales side. And so at my company, we have sales and recruitment, and then we have managers of sales and recruitment. And so there's people who can still sell and also manage a team, but usually those people have a harder time and one's going to lag. Either your management's lagging, which is usually that happens, or your sales is lagging. And so with Sark, I think it's the same thing. He's the offensive guy. That's where he came up. And so I think he's like, I'm going to control this and I'm going to run this because nobody in this building knows this like I do. And I believe that. But is that the best thing for him moving forward as we continue to grow and evolve as a program? My hope for him is that as he evaluates himself, which is all really hard to do, right? I hope that he looks that way. I think others online would agree, and they've been having that discussion, but I think that's what happens. Like, I think that the game just keeps going and he can't stay ahead of it. And in overtime, we were able to regroup, play our game, and everyone's firing on all cylinders. The other thing that I had my eye on in that game that was really bothering me, and I don't know what they will decide for Cotton Bowl because based on Sark's comments, he said everybody will be healthy. But to me, it was very clear that Isaiah Bond is still not healthy and like was not able to make athletic plays in the game. Like some of those passes, he couldn't go up and get them because like he literally can't. So I was like, oh, this is heartbreaking. Such an awesome weapon we had at the beginning of the year. And now Golden's kind of stepped into that role. But at least maybe they did swapsies on NFL because it's looking like Golden will leave and maybe Isaiah will stay, get healthy, and have a good year with Arch next year.
I do love that Golden, like, I mean, watching him play has been really fun and watching him get some of those balls is very exciting. So I do love watching that. I mean, obviously, coming up to Ohio State, they're known to have several weapons, and we've been saying all year that we do, and I still believe that we do. I mean, we have to figure out our run game, and you'd like to hope that we're going to have more than just poor Golden. I mean, Helm also did really well in this last game too. So I mean, we gotta see some things, but I'd agree with you, Devin. There's lots of talk around that of like play calling and what's been happening, and maybe just getting too bogged down with this, that, or the other. Because I mean, man, our poor defense, they were on that field for a long time, and they delivered. Like there's little bits where you want to be like, what are you doing? And then you're like, well, what they're doing is they're very tired and doing as much as they can. So you know what, I didn't hate it, like in terms of, okay, now we regroup for this next round. Like if we would have just blown out Arizona State at the beginning, I was like, what if we just blow them out? I don't want to go in thinking we're too high and mighty on this next game, right? But then you watch the Oregon Ohio State game and know that you're playing Ohio State and you're like, okay, this is gonna be fun.
Hill battle, which we've talked about too, is now that we are an underdog and haven't seen them be underdogs yet, like how is it going to invigorate? Is that right? How is it going to like light a fire, right? For them to come out as that, because they haven't done it. And I hope, right? I hope we get into that situation and they act like they acted in overtime. Like, oh
In
shit, like
overtime, yeah.
this is do or die for us. And now we really got to shine. Like, can't come out here like not handling business.
Yeah, that's one thing that I wanted to bring up to you all. Like, how are we feeling about matching up against Ohio State, and how has that feeling changed? Because like they did play Michigan not too long ago, and I feel like we were all sort of like laughing about the fact that Michigan won, and then the post game was like craziness, and now Ohio has new laws because of that game. But I mean, on the one hand, you had that situation, and I'm like, okay, I wasn't even thinking about playing Ohio State in the future at that point. But now that we've seen the way that Ohio State has treated their playoff run, like they come in for people's necks. Like, and Will Howard has been on record multiple times speaking about the Big 12, speaking about how he didn't beat Texas, speaking about how the last time he played it was in overtime and it stuck with him. And he said that about his other opponent so far. So I'm like, he has got something in his head, and you don't want to go up against that.
I agree. I mean, I honestly, I really haven't watched them that much except for that game against Michigan. And honestly, like you said, the only thing now I feel like I remember is what happened after the game. I'm like, I forgot like what happened in the game other than them losing, but because of the brawl. But I do think that they are a very complete team, and we've seen that and like how they're performing. But again, I don't know the talent, right? Like we've only played Michigan. Um, so how is it gonna line up against us is gonna be curious, but I do think that they are rolling, right? So we're gonna have to come in and play lights out.
Yeah, I mean that's what I like. I guess you could say like I mean, of course we haven't watched every nitty gritty all season long, but just some stuff that I've seen or like the Michigan game, knowing that they've played Oregon before, like different things of that nature. They obviously have had some inconsistency leading up to this, and then now all of a sudden they're making a run for it. And I had the same thoughts, Ange, of like us in overtime. Like, all right, like here we were coming back, like that's what I want to see. Like when you say, what do you want to see from us? Like what's happening? And now that we're this underdog, like that's what I want to see. I want that to fuel them. So I will be curious how we both play, right? Considering Ohio State's ups and downs, and now all of a sudden it's like they're coming for us or anyone, the neck, as Devin says, for the teams in the playoffs versus how we're gonna do. But I want to believe after the game last week that we are, recouping and relooking at stuff and watching their film as well and knowing how they're about to play. And I agree. I've seen stuff about Will Howard as well. And then of course Quinn played at Ohio State for a hot second. So like there's lots of different and the last time we played Ohio State in a bowl game, what happened? So some history there. And usually that fires us up as well. So
I mean, the history is there also, but I'm curious too to see, because it is in Dallas, it's pretty much a home game for us, and how impactful it's going to be with that many, hopefully, Texas fans in the building and the roar of the crowd.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a factor. Ohio State is also traveling very far, but we saw Washington travel very far against us last year and didn't pan out so well. So hopefully it's a different situation this year. I gotta think, like, referencing all of the stuff that we're talking about, last year has to be a thing that they are hanging their hat on. We didn't show up how we wanted to, and we made it to the top four. Like, who are you going to be as a program? Are you going to be going for natties, or are you going to be somebody who gets to the semis every year? So I know Sark is probably spending a lot of time talking about that. Back on the offensive side of things, they also were saying Sark probably hasn't emptied the bag on everything we have playbook wise. So I'm sure we've got some tricks up our sleeves, or I hope we do, versus Ryan Day come this Friday. So I mean, I think we're gonna match up well. I think we have more talent than them. I think we should win the game, but you have to get out there and play.
Yeah,
Always am interested to see like when we keep saying like what else is in Sark's bag, like what other plays, but then it also kind of makes me nervous. I don't know about y'all. I'm like, we haven't seen them in a game. So how will they be executed in this big pressure moment if they've only really been practicing in practice, right? Like in against each other. And that also makes me curious.
I was gonna say I had a similar thought, like that we probably still haven't seen everything. Like you think about who we've played these last 2 rounds, that's no, like I don't mean any injustice to them or like anything like that, but you think like, yeah, probably saving it for these two. And there's gotta be some more stuff that he has. I'm not as nervous not having seen it in a game. I mean, we could say that probably about plays every game that come out. So I'd like to hope that they'll execute it. And I'd agree that we have the weapons, like we have, good players. And I do think, provided we can see it through, that it should be good. But I mean, back to talking about like Ohio State as well. Like I agree that I wasn't that nervous until like having watched them and seeing it now. And I mean, I still believe that we can win. It's not like I'm like, all right, that's it. This is the end of the, like, people are like, there's no way you're getting through Ohio State. I'm like, I disagree with that. I think it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be a tough one, but I don't think it's just automatic, like Ohio State's better than us. I definitely don't believe that. So.
I think it's recency bias, right? That's why people think that. I mean, they did open a can of whoop ass. I don't know what that's about, but we'll see how that works for them Friday. Maybe they tired themselves out by now. I have no idea. It does look like a completely different team than what we saw during the season. There's been a lot of talk about, and Sark was being funny about it, saying like, I just hope we're good enough about Jeremiah Smith. They're a really good wide receiver. So I'm excited to watch that matchup. I'm excited to watch the QBs go at it. And it looks like we will probably have a good advantage on our D line. So I'm ready for Anthony Hill, Colin Simmons. Like I'm ready for the defensive players to get after Will Howard and get into his head. And like you said, Angie, the combination of that and hopefully crowd noise gets us into a good situation early. And we know we need that because every game that we've seen, we sort of slow down.
Yeah, you bringing up defense reminded me in the last game. I don't know if y'all heard it, but it's now driving me crazy when they talk about Barron. Like, if he makes play, the Thorpe winner. Like, I'm like, okay, do we have to include this about him? Like, every time, yes, he won the Thorpe, and yes, there's an expectation, but he's a phenomenal player. Like, why do we need to throw it in if he like didn't make the best play? Well, he was the Thorpe winner. Give it a
Well,
rest, people.
I kept saying it. Those commentators were driving me off a cliff. They were so excited that, like, overly excited that Arizona State was coming back. So I think they're a part of the Texas hate train. But the fun fact about the Thorpe Award, I don't know if y'all saw this, but the last 4 times we've played Ohio State, the Thorpe Award winner was in that game. 3 times on our team and 1 time on theirs. So I think that's really interesting. And I think we'll see a lot of fun, high flying offense and defense happening.
Cool. And I saw in that game too, Aaron Ross got to be the like honorary former like captain. Do they do that in every playoff game or is this something new? I was like, I don't feel like I remember seeing this.
I think it was just new. They just wanted to do it. I don't even know if the other major bowl games, playoff games had it, but I thought it was really cool too, considering we had just seen him and his wife at the SEC championship game. So love that they're so involved.
Yeah, I do too. Okay,
I,
I do have a question for y'all.
there was multiple people, like I have to say, Devin talking about the announcers, like multiple people were like, man, I had to mute it, like I couldn't listen to them whether they liked Texas or not, like they were just going insane
Over the
about
top.
things. Yeah, too much. But hey, I'm happy to have a Thorpe winner. And I mean, they were using him, honestly, like most of what they were using him as like a baseline. Like, this is how many tackles he has versus now this person, da 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 da. And what's funny is it was our own guy. So I'm like, look, awesome. Look, we just got all the Thorpe people, all the Thorpe winners. They're going to be great. So let's go.
How do you guys feel about Georgia no longer being in the running?
Called it.
Yeah, we both said that. Like I said, we won't be playing them again. And while they were playing Notre Dame, which I'm really happy for Marcus Freeman as well as James Franklin, I'm excited for those two coaches because if you have followed their programs at all, they've been in a lot of big games and lost, been in a lot of big opportunities and didn't make it here. So very excited for them to be going to the semis. As far as Georgia's concerned, whether their starter would have been there or not, I didn't think we were going to play them again. And people said we were their Super Bowl, and I'm going to go with that's what facts are. So, oh well.
What do y'all have to say about yourself, Georgia? You beat Texas twice?
It's wild though, right? Like we talked about this all year long. Like, do you want Natty over SEC title? Like, obviously, we want Natty over all. And so you have to think like Sark played his cards right, and look where we are, and look where they are. And it's just so funny how maybe the only reason we're still in it is because we didn't play them, and the only reason they're out is because they didn't play us. But that's how the cookie crumbles.
No, I had people telling me, well, wouldn't you rather like have to play them a third time, like an evil you already know versus potentially one you don't know in Notre Dame? And I was like, honestly, I feel like I would rather play Notre Dame. Like, I love Marcus Freeman, and Notre Dame was my grandpa outside of Texas, his favorite team that he watched true and true all the time. And I'm like, I think it would be so cool. And we just signed a contract to play them. What is it, 28, 29? Is that the
Yeah.
seasons that we signed to play them?
Or 27, 20, either one of those, yes.
Yeah.
They didn't-
So I think it's just cool for the like, do people really want to see Texas and Georgia play for a third time? You know, I feel like the playoffs, you get to play different people, and that's like the beauty of having the playoffs.
No,
Versus
they
having,
wanted us
you
to
know,
win, and they wanted us to lose again. And everybody,
right.
even Texas people who are like, I want to play Georgia again. I'm like, we will next season at their house. That's when we'll play them. We don't need to play them in the playoff.
And I mean, I think like it's funny how everyone says this, but I agree. I think they thought it was their Super Bowl. There wasn't possibly that we were going to win the SEC championship being the first year in the SEC. And I fully believe if we played them again, you weren't beating us a third time, Georgia. It was just not going to happen. So here we are. They're gone. Called it because we all were like, they love playing us most. They don't do that well with a lot of the other teams, and look where they are now. Like, I think it has nothing to do with their quarterback situation, but oh well. Sorry about your luck.
Which shout out to Gunnar Stockton. I mean, to be in that situation, he actually did really good. And in terms of his downfield passing, I was impressed.
Yeah, he did really well.
And now it'll be interesting. I mean, there's a lot of talk about Cotton Bowl and like this being a home field, like kind of like you guys were saying for this part too. But it's weird to call it Cotton Bowl because it's not like we're not playing at the Cotton Bowl, we're playing at Jerry World. It just happens to be the Cotton Bowl game. But a lot of people are confused about that. They kept asking me, and I was like, no, it's at Jerry World. It's in Arlington. But it'll be interesting with this weather situation. I don't know.
Honestly, so glad it's not at the actual Cotton Bowl with how cold it's about to be. I would die.
Yeah, fair.
We are not built that like those northern people that like their stadiums to be out in the cold.
No, and that's what I keep thinking about. Like, I'm like, well, if the weather does get bad, like, would this impact the game at all? How would it happen? And then I'm like, there's so many other places that play literally in snow and whatever. But like, we just don't have the infrastructure for that, though. Our roads aren't safe, and that's what worries me is like, I know how many people want to show up to this game and that it is in Texas and that Longhorn Nation shows up and shows out. And I just hope that everyone is safe trying to get to this game. And be there for our team. So
that is one benefit of Ohio State. They are fully equipped and aware to be able to handle the elements of snow and ice.
Yeah, they're like, I'm flying in and I'm gonna find an Uber that's 4-wheel drive. Or a rent car. Good luck finding a rent car in Texas that's 4-wheel drive.
Yeah.
We will see.
We sure will.
Who do y'all want to play okay, let's move forward. If we beat Ohio State, who are y'all hoping to play next? You kind of said Notre Dame.
Yeah,
I would say Notre Dame.
Either one for me. I mean, my very first boss out of college, she's a Nittany Lion. That's how I even found out about Nittany Lions to begin with. I was like, what is this? So I actually need to message her because she and I were always talking football way back when I was living in Vegas. So either team would be really fun. I think everyone's saying our game is the Natty. So I think that's why I'm saying either team. It kind of doesn't matter. I think out of the three, this is the hardest team we'll play.
That's what a
I
lot of
agree.
people are saying,
Yeah.
and I would agree with that this is going to be the big game. But I was like, I don't want to jinx it, 'cause people said Ohio State and Oregon was going to be a huge game. So,
Yikes.
but yeah,
Hopefully, whoever wins our game is able to win the Natty.
yeah, I want it for us.
Yeah. Ohio State wins, they can lose. Respectfully.
Respectfully.
Respectfully, the freaking Ohio State.
Ugh.
I learned about that like as a freshman at UT because like they were saying it on the broadcast and stuff when we played them that year. The Ohio State. I'm like, the goes before Ohio. It's just Ohio State. We are the University of Texas at Austin because that makes sense. The Ohio is crazy.
It's crazy.
At least they're not going to be barking.
At least there won't be barking. That is true.
Do you
But
know
the-
how happy I am that I don't have to hear a bark until we step into Athens this year next season? But I'm like, them little puppies can sit down.
But also the way that I'm not even prepared for how atrocious it's gonna be in Athens. Like, I don't know if I want to go.
I mean, points are being made,
Yeah, I don't think we can do it.
but we have to so that you can judge it against LSU.
And having gone to Tuscaloosa, I'm curious what Athens is like as well.
But I feel like Tuscaloosa, I'm sorry. Texas education over here, not Bama one. Anyway, they were really sweet. Like they don't have beef. And I think that's what I was about to say. So I feel like when we finally get to play LSU year after this coming season, we've been talking about Death Valley, but I feel like the fans, it's like we're brother sister with Louisiana. Y'all right there, little neighboring state. I think the feeling is going to be different, and we don't have those SEC stories with them. But Georgia has developed this crazy like energy towards us. So I'm with you, Angie. I don't know how that trip is going to go.
I just feel like Bama, this is a terrible word, but like they were so classy. I feel like Georgia fans are not gonna be that way.
There's gonna be barking in our faces more and more. We've heard enough in 1 year.
I was like, why wouldn't they be classy? Is it the barking? Like, what
Yeah.
makes you think
Obnoxious
that?
drunk Georgia fans or whatever the heck their song says.
I mean,
That song is not okay. That song is not okay.
I think the chant's kind of funny.
Michelle's like, I like it. Sorry, if I went to Georgia, I'd be all about it.
The accuracy.
Just wait.
Just-
I mean, there's
It
some
gives
other
me,
cold tea schools that I know things.
Yeah. I don't know why, but it also like gives me NASCAR vibes, and I don't know why.
But barking?
No, like the drunk, obnoxious Georgia fan piece. Like I just see them like in overalls with beer cans or something.
I'm like, do you think so? I'm like trying to see it. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe.
What? I don't know if I see this. I'm trying to picture.
I know, me too. I'm like, what fan base would most likely align to NASCAR? Maybe it is Georgia out of the SEC. I don't know. Wonder how they would feel about all of this. They might like it because it's true. Who knows?
I don't know,
We
but
should put out a poll.
love that we're the SEC team that's still in it.
Facts. We
Feels
hope.
pretty good. Yeah. You're well, and all like the memes out there to be like Texas holding down the SEC. Like,
Literally, I wish they would have done a thing with Bevo and like Marshawn Lynch of like Bevo's carrying the SEC on his back.
and because of all this stuff about Bebo, like,
And he gets to go.
our cheerleader who does like the horns down ratings.
Oh yeah.
I'll say the Peach Bowl one.
Mm-mm.
She did it at Arizona for the Arizona State game, which was hilarious. But there was a guy who had a sign with like a burnt orange horns down that was like, I ate Bevo. She was like, but you didn't. He's alive. He's in Austin right now. It was just like so funny that she like clarified that. Obviously, we know that girl cracked
funny.
me.
She's really funny, and I love that she freaking started doing this.
Yes.
Because we talked about it all the time of like, why are you not doing this right? If you're
Yeah.
gonna at least throw the horns down, do it right.
It's so funny.
Yes.
I
See
think
y'all at the Cotton Bowl.
Yay!
Hopefully.
See you at the Cotton Bowl and then hopefully continuing. But for now, let's go cream the Buckeyes.
Weather permitting.
1-0 once again. That's what we're
Yeah.
looking.
Yeah, exactly.